Greetings to everyone out there in the NoDQ galaxy. Aaron Rift here from NoDQ.com. Welcome to my live recap of the April 30th, 2019 edition of WWE Smackdown Live. We found out more participants for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. We had more storyline development for the other matches at Money in the Bank. So let's go ahead and break down this show. Shout out to everybody in the chat room watching live. I appreciate your viewership and your continued support of NoDQ.com. Let's go ahead and get started. We kicked off SmackDown with Monday Night Raw's Michael Cole. Okay, Michael Cole on SmackDown, whatever. I thought this was a brand extension and people were on separate shows, but don't know what to make of that. We had Kofi Kingston introduced. Of course, Kofi is the reigning and defending WWE champion. He came out slinging pancakes. Then we proceeded to have a lengthy recap for some reason of everything that Kofi went through, from Elimination Chamber to the Gauntlet matches to finally WrestleMania. Kofi talked about how he had to fight through the lows, and without the New Day, it would not have happened, and they helped him prove that the impossible is possible. Michael Cole referred to WrestleMania, Kofi Kingston winning the title, as perhaps the greatest moment in the history of WrestleMania. I liked it. It was a really solid WrestleMania moment, maybe the best of that WrestleMania. But to say it was the best of all time, come on! To quote Nakamura, you gotta be kidding me. So anyways, to sum it up for those of you that missed SmackDown, which might be a good deal of you at this point looking at Raw's rating, and I will get to that later. After this review, I will give my thoughts on the Raw viewership for this week. So, about 8 minutes of this show to start things off consisted of recaps from Kofi Kingston's rise to the top. Why did we need this? Was this necessary? No. Totally unnecessary footage. You should have just had Kofi come out, angry at Kevin Owens, call him out, and then do whatever you're going to do with Xavier. And what happened here was Kofi said he was challenging. It took 8 minutes, but Kofi Kingston finally said he's challenging Kevin Owens for Money in the Bank. Owens came out, accepted the challenge. Owens said that Kofi Kingston is drowning. And then all of a sudden, Xavier Woods, who's still banged up from last week, came out there, attacked Owens from behind, but Owens fought back against Xavier, hit the super kick, and then Kofi came to his aid. So the New Day's attempt at an ambush did not work out for these guys. So there you go. Backstage, we had Kofi Kingston talking to Xavier Woods, and they talked about how Xavier has a family. Kofi said that Xavier needs to let him handle things. He should not be going out there getting himself involved, and that was that. Next up, we had Becky Lynch, aka Becky Two Belts, who did not cut a promo this week, or this evening on SmackDown Live. Becky Lynch versus Bayley. There was another recap because, you know, that's all we need, more recaps. We had a recap of the Lacey Evans Becky Lynch brawl from Raw where the crowd chanted, "Let them fight." Bayley hit an elbow drop, but Bayley, unfortunately for her, was met with Becky Lynch's knees. Becky got her knees up, quickly applied the disarm her, and we got a tap out from Bayley. So there you go. We had Becky Lynch tapping out Bayley. Charlotte attacked Becky after the match, threw her into the post, laid her out, all that stuff. Donald Wooding with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Donald. He says, Aaron, do you honestly feel that Kofi Mania is dead like Virtue said on the review last week? Keep up the great job. I feel like a lot of WWE acts at this point are on the verge of being dead, quite frankly. Not just Kofi Mania, but I mean, let's talk about Becky. When she came out there, WWE had to do like this really close shot of fans in the front rows reacting, but when they did the wide shot, most of the people were sitting down. A good part of the crowd did not stand up when Becky Lynch came out there. So, for everything that she's done over the past 6 months, it's quite fascinating to me how much she has cooled off. And you're getting to the point where she has 2 championships, yet the crowd doesn't react to her like she's that big of a deal. They pop for her because she is a WWE superstar and they like her, but she doesn't get that rock star reaction where everybody gets up on their feet like a Rock or a Stone Cold. I mean, she's not even close to that level. Maybe she was back in November, but man, you want to talk about cooling off. You look at Becky Lynch, and she's almost ice cold at this point. And between her and Kofi, I think both of them have been cooling off very, very quickly. Maybe even more so Becky, because she was really on fire back in November, December. Ever since the Royal Rumble, I feel like her momentum has just been on this steady decline. But again, I'll talk about the Raw viewership here in just a few minutes after this recap. So stay tuned for that after the SmackDown recap. We had Aleister Black with another video. He was in this dark room. He talked about how fear is a powerful tool. His opponents look into his eyes and they don't like what they see because what they see is the truth, and that is that they will fade to black. So, quote Aleister Black, nevermore. I mean, that's what this reminded me of. It was basically like this Raven 1997 WCW promo where he's in a dark room just spouting out all this stuff and trying to act all scary and everything. So yeah, just Raven 2.0, at least as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what the problem was with just having him come out there and do his thing. I mean, why do we need these promos? Black is already over with the fans, or was over with the fans. I mean, why are you having him do these promos now? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, Chris Mace, to me, they're like Raven knockoff promos. So not the biggest fan of them, quite frankly. But some people disagree with me. Some people like the promos. But go back and watch Raven promos from '97 and tell me that these aren't pretty much the same thing. Curtis Butler says, "Let the Black promos play themselves out." That's what everybody says. That's the go-to line. Give it a chance. Let's see how it plays out. So, anyways, we had the Hardy Boys come out, and they asked about, or I should say, the interviewer asked about what happened to Jeff because he came out there on a crutch, and clearly something was up. I think we all knew where this was going. We had Jeff Hardy say, instead of telling you what happened, I'm going to show you what happened. So we had the kayfabe explanation for what happened to Jeff Hardy, who really did get injured. So WWE decided to, in storyline, put the blame on Lars Sullivan. Lars Sullivan footage shown of him beating up Jeff Hardy. Jeff then said he needs surgery. He will be gone for a long time, but said that he will rise again and the Hardys will once again become tag team champions. Really sucks for the Hardys, sucks for the tag team titles because they literally just won the titles at WrestleMania, and now Jeff is injured, having surgery. Matt Hardy's back on his own again after making his comeback. So yeah, really, really sucks for the Hardys. Terrible timing for these guys. We had Lars Sullivan come out to ruin the festivities, or I really shouldn't say festivities. That's not the proper terminology for this. He wanted to make a bad situation even worse, which he did. He came out there. He attacked Matt Hardy. Jeff Hardy was standing his ground, trying to come to the aid of his brother. Lars was about to attack Jeff Hardy when all of a sudden R-Truth came in with a steel chair. Lars no-sold it. Didn't even get phased from the chair shot, and then he planted R-Truth with whatever his move is. Mike B with the $2 super chat says, quote the Rift, nevermore because he is awesome. Well, thank you for that, Mike B. I do appreciate it. Curtis Butler says, heavy machinery. Sorry, no heavy machinery on this show because, you have to show 8 minutes of Kofi Kingston video packages of stuff we've already seen numerous times over the past couple months, We got tons of guys on the roster, but we got to show more video packages, right? We had the announcement of the men's Money in the Bank participants for SmackDown. They are as follows. We have Mustafa, Finn Balor, Almas, and Randy Orton. So those are the 4 SmackDown representatives for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Should be a solid Money in the Bank ladder match. I know people are saying, oh, Orton sucks, he shouldn't be in it. I think Orton's a good addition to the match. I think it's good to have some guys that are more grounded in the match. You don't have to have 8 high flyers doing crazy spots. You can have a couple of guys like Braun Strowman and Randy Orton that will be more grounded in the match. I'm fine with it. Adds a little bit of diversity to the match. No big deal. Next up, we had Kairi Sane and Asuka in tag team action. Paige was out there with them. They won a squash match against Ariel from Little Mermaid and somebody else. Basically, what WWE's doing is back and forth with the ring music. It started off with Kairi's music, and then it went to Asuka, and then it went back to Kairi, and then back to Asuka again. Iconics were on commentary. Kairi picked up the victory with the insane, I just said insane because I'm thinking of Sami Zayn, insane elbow. They should team up Kairi Sane and Sami Zayn just because their names sound similar. I don't know. It would just be amusing to me. We had, although their characters are nothing alike at this point, so really wouldn't make any sense. But then again, this is WWE we're talking about, and quite often things don't make any sense whatsoever. We had Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville watching backstage. Mandy said that one of them will get the opportunity to be in Money in the Bank. Sonya was praised by Mandy. Mandy said Sonya should be in it. Sonya's like, were you just trying to flatter me so I'll say you should be in the match? And then added, well, you know what? I think you should be in the match. Sonya basically gave the spot to Mandy. So we'll see if this is going to lead to anything, if there's going to be dissension between them. Poor Caitlyn. She just got back home and she hasn't gotten her pizza yet. So damn you, Hungry Howies. You guys got to get your act together when it comes to your delivery. You suck. There you go, Caitlyn. That's for you. Next up, we had the big dog, the biggest acquisition in SmackDown history, Roman Reigns, coming out. Roman said that you have one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes in a lifetime. No, what he actually said was you only have one shot to make a first impression by knocking out Vince McMahon. So that's why he did it, just to say, hey, I'm the big dog now. This is my yard, blah, blah, blah. Shane McMahon came out, says the McMahon family owns the land. And then Roman was like, no, your daddy owns the land. And then challenged Shane to actually come down there on his own without Elias's help. Shane McMahon, since they were in Columbus, Ohio, and I don't follow sports, so I don't know the reference here, but we had Shane reference Michigan's something team beating Ohio, and that got heel heat, the cheap heat. I'm sure some of you guys in the chat room know the sports reference. I don't. I'm guessing it's some kind of college football or something like that. But yeah, typical cheap sports heat. It's the stuff we always see. Shane McMahon introduced the B team as Roman Reigns' opponents in a handicapped match. And in addition to that, we had Elias brought out as the referee / special enforcer. So there was a regular referee, and Elias was out there as the enforcer. All right, thank you, guys. So, yeah, Michigan and Ohio State rivalry. They were at OSU campus. Well, thank you for that. Roman Reigns had the match won when Elias pulled out the regular referee. And then Curtis Axel hit the perfect plex. And then Elias got in the ring and had done a somewhat fast count, but Roman Reigns kicked out at 2. So here's my question. Okay, now if this is legitimate and the rules don't apply or anything, why would Elias as a bad guy even stop the count? Why not just count 3 even if Roman Reigns gets his shoulder up? Why even stop at a 2 if Roman Reigns kicks out? Why not just count 3 if you're a heel anyways? You know, you can get away with it apparently. So I never understood that logic, why the heel referees always stop the count. Why not just fast count the guy, and even if he kicks out, count him out anyways? I never understood that. Even going back to the Attitude Era, I never understood that logic. Why the heels just don't count 3 anyways, even if the guy gets his shoulder up or kicks out. But anyways, Elias went for the guitar, but then Roman Reigns hit the Superman punch on Elias. And then we had Roman Reigns hit the spear on Curtis Axel. Real referee came back in, did the 3 count. Roman Reigns victorious. No surprise here, and, you know, totally fine, whatever. Predictable stuff, but, I mean, there's no reason to have B-Team beating Roman Reigns. David McGinnis with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, David. He says, Roman Reigns needs new wrestling gear. Well, I don't think that's going to happen because Roman Reigns has that look that is in the video games, the action figures. I don't think WWE is going to change that up, quite frankly. Moving on here, we had the Bray Wyatt video shown once again. For those of you that missed it, Bray Wyatt had a conversation with his puppets. He was painting a picture, and the word of the day was sociopath, and Bray was trying to say he's not crazy and everything's all good now, but I think we all know that, in fact, Bray Wyatt is a sociopath, and we will find that out soon enough. We had a tag team match between the men's Money in the Bank participants, Randy Orton and Almas versus Mustafa and Finn Balor. Randy Orton did a little pre-tape promo, just standard stuff, saying everybody at Money in the Bank, they will find out about the most devastating 3 letters in wrestling, the RKO. Almas actually talked on the mic again, and I'm just like, why? Why do you keep having this guy talk? He sucks. That's why you have Zelina Vega talking for him. He's not a good talker. So why does he keep talking in these segments? I don't get it. We had Mustafa pin Almas with the 450. And then afterwards, Randy Orton hit Finn Balor with an RKO out of nowhere. And then Ali took out Randy Orton to stand tall. His music played. So right now, Mustafa gets the momentum heading into Money in the Bank. We had a backstage promo with Ember Moon proclaiming herself to be the Money in the Bank winner. Carmella came in, said she's going to be the winner. Standard stuff, standard promo here. The 4 participants were revealed for the women's Money in the Bank match. The Smackdown representatives, they are as follows: Bayley, Mandy Rose, Ember Moon, and Carmella. Corey Graves' favorite female wrestler, although Corey Graves is going to be split here. I mean, because he's got the goddess Alexa Bliss, and he's also got Mandy Rose on SmackDown. So, yeah, who is Corey Graves really going to cheer for here at Money in the Bank? To me, that's more interesting than the actual match at this point, just to hear Graves' commentary and see which lady he roots for in the match. Then we had the main event segment, the Kevin Owens show, with no set. Owens said that that's a bunch of crap with the fancy set. He says that's something the New Day would do. He called out Xavier Woods to come out there. He said to trust him. He just wanted to have a chat with Xavier. And then he proceeded to introduce these action figures of Xavier and Big E, who had his leg all taped up. Kofi Kingston came out as Owens was having this conversation with the action figures. Kofi and Owens got into a big brawl. Kofi ran him off. Owens escaped through the crowd. Owens was just standing there as Kofi Kingston stood tall in the ring, and that was SmackDown. Pretty lackluster SmackDown, in my opinion. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a terrible show, but I mean, SmackDown has consistently been pretty good over the past several months, and this was one of the weaker ones in a while. So, yeah, as far as the letter grade goes, I am going to go with a C minus. Same thing I did with Raw. I agree with Kurapika07. The show is lacking without Daniel Bryan. Like, his absence is definitely felt, I have to say. I don't know if the change in the writers is making any difference, but this was a weak SmackDown, in my opinion, for SmackDown. And I don't even remember the last time I gave SmackDown like a D or anything. This was close. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but yeah, it was not my favorite SmackDown. Don Wooding with a D minus, more faves with a C minus, Curtis Butler C. Let's see here. Mike B with a B minus, Stanley Big with a D, the Gameson 100 with a C minus, Dustin with a C minus, Chat Site Forms with a B plus. Kayfabe Candy Ass says, thought Raw was way worse than, or not way worse, just was worse than SmackDown. SmackDown was just borderline average, 5 out of 10 goth babes from him. So there you go. And Space Force Vlogs gives it a D plus. Chat Site Forums gives it a B plus. Chris Mace gave it a C. So it's a lot of C's here, a couple B's, couple D's, you know. Marcus Meatcalf with the $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Marcus. He says, women's Money in the Bank looks unsafe on paper. I think it'll be all right. You know, these women, they're all solid in-ring performers, and you know, we all say, oh, Carmella's not that good, but she's proven herself that she can have some quality matches. The question is, with 8 people in the match, will that be too much? I don't know what they did last year. Maybe they did do 8. But I remember the women's Money in the Bank match last year being fine, but then again, you also had, I believe, Charlotte and Becky in that match, from what I remember. I was there too, and I don't even remember all the participants in that match. But I think they'll pull it off, and it'll be fine. I'm not too concerned about it. So anyways, I did want to talk about the Raw viewership this week. So for the first time ever for a non-holiday third hour of Raw, the third hour dropped down to under 2 million viewers. And I got a couple more super chats here, which I will get to in just a second. So what does this mean? Is WWE hitting the panic button? I know some people are like, well, this is really bad for WWE. This is bad for AEW with their potential television deal. If Raw's viewership's getting lower, will Fox get cold feet? Will a potential network for AEW get cold feet? Again, it's what I've said before. Raw as a 3-hour show is not must-see anymore. I think you have a good amount of people that are still watching WWE or following it to some degree, whether they watch the YouTube clips or they watch it on Twitter or Facebook. WWE still has a lot of eyeballs watching their product, and they're still a very strong brand. The stock prices reflect that. However, I feel fewer and fewer people are able to commit to 3 hours every week. The quality of the shows, it's just not there. The writing is bad. There's no reason to stay invested from start to finish with a 3-hour show. You know, it's too long. It's been too long, and the writing has just gradually gotten worse, and the characters have gotten weaker. You know, you don't have that major superstar that is bringing in new viewers. I mean, the closest thing you had to it was Ronda Rousey, and she's gone now. So yeah, I feel like it's just going to get worse with the NBA playoffs. The numbers, you know, we could see the entire 3-hour Raw dropping under 2 million pretty soon. Would not shock me. Don Wooding with a $2 super chat says, is Liv Morgan, is she hurt? Also, we getting a review. A review of what? I don't know what you mean by that, but thank you for the super chat. Liv Morgan, I don't know what's going on with her. Again, there's only so many spots on the show. There's only so many people WWE can push. And quite frankly, I think her being removed from the Riot Squad, it's not good for her career because she's pretty much going to be lost in the shuffle, unfortunately. It's going to be really tough for her to get any traction whatsoever. So I think it's just a case of she's pretty much in limbo now without the other Riot Squad members. David McGinnis with a $5 super chat says, I would like to see Chucky as a celebrity general manager for 1 week. It would be cool. Did you watch WCW back in 98? Go back and watch that segment with Rick Steiner and Chucky and get back to me, because that was truly one of the worst WCW Nitro moments of all time. And that's saying a lot. But that was just pure cringe. So, of course, WWE does that kind of stuff all the time now. But, yeah, I remember watching that and thinking, this has got to be the dumbest thing I've ever seen on a wrestling show. And, even back then, there were a lot of things that just really hurt your brain. And that was definitely one of them. That was so bad. Rick Steiner having this conversation with the Chucky doll. Ugh. That was just pure cringe. Pure cringe. Dylan with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Dylan. He says, seriously, action figures, pancakes, unicorns? WWE honestly thinks I would be invested in this trash. It's the world title, for God's sake. I'm with you on this, Dylan. I completely agree with you about this. I think that once Kofi won the WWE title, first of all, I think it would have been a good opportunity for him to break off on his own and just come out with his old music, get some new gear for Kofi. In that case, I would say definitely change up his gear, give him a fresh new look, ditch the comedy aspect. See, when you make the WWE title a comedy title, then it's really hard to take it seriously as a main event championship that's serious and you're supposed to be invested in it. How can you do that when the WWE champion is out there throwing pancakes at people? We went from Steve Austin, the badass WWE champion, the toughest SOB, to Kofi Kingston throwing pancakes out there. I think it's definitely a mistake for him to keep doing that as the champion. I think he should have had a metamorphosis, not just getting this push, but also a change in his character a little bit, make him a little bit more serious. Update on Caitlin's Pizza. They credited a large pizza for next time. Well, there you go, Caitlin. I'm glad they made up for it and did you right. I'm happy about that. And Kayfabe Candy S says, Road Dogg was a scapegoat. It comes down to Vince McMahon. If you think the show sucks and the booking makes no sense, blame Vince. Very solid point there, KCA. I mean, that's really the way it is. Vince, the buck stops with Vince. You could say it's Road Dogg's fault or anybody's fault. But at the end of the day, it's Vince who makes the final decisions. Marcus Meatcalf with a $2 super chat. And I really like this question. This is a tough one to answer. This is a really tough one. So I'm going to need you guys to give me some input here. But before I get to that question, Marcus, I am going to get to that in just a second here, because I do want to address these other topics real quick, since that's an old school topic, and I do want to cover that. I will address that here in just a minute. Let's do Donald Wooding with a $3 super chat. He said, a NoDQ review this week or Virtue on holidays? The plan is to do a NoDQ review for sure. I think it's going to be on Thursday instead of Wednesday. But thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it. Now, Dylan with a $2 super chat says, also, if Raw isn't must-see TV, then why invest? That's a very valid question. Again, I think the idea is that there's so much programming now, you can just pick and choose what you want to watch. And, as long as WWE has the money rolling in, they're going to do what they're going to do. And if they can get away with 3-hour shows for Raw and maybe even 3 hours with SmackDown, they're going to do it. If they get the money, if they're making the money, that's what they're going to do. But yeah, it's a very valid question. And I think people still want to watch WWE, but they don't want to invest that time, especially time in a show that isn't up to par with what it's been like in the past. So people are now resorting to just watching YouTube clips or just following along on pay-per-view, watching the pay-per-views, and that's pretty much it. I think most human beings out there are not going to commit 6-7 hours to watching wrestling every week, because most of us have other things we want to do with our time. Most of us have jobs, most of us have family, significant others, you got other hobbies, other TV shows you like watching. It's not going to be wrestling 24/7. Now, of course, there are those people out there that will watch wrestling 24/7. So, for them, they cannot get enough WWE programming. But then if AEW comes along, they have a problem with it. Big G. Let's see what we got here. David McGinnis with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, there are rumors, I think he meant to say. There are rumors that Jinder Mahal is going to win the WWE Championship, so then when Roman Reigns goes for the championship, people will be happy. Where did you hear this rumor? Because to me, that is a thing of the past. That is not going to happen. Jinder Mahal will probably be nowhere near the WWE Championship again. I don't see that happening. So yeah, I'm not buying into that rumor. And we saw the Money in the Bank match between Jinder and Roman Reigns last year and how that turned out. So yeah, it didn't exactly work as far as getting people to cheer for Roman Reigns. So yeah, I don't buy into that, wherever you heard that. Caitlin says she's going to save that Hungry Howie's large pizza credit for when I'm here. So thank you for that, Caitlin. I'm looking forward to it. We'll definitely have a pizza night, maybe watch Paige's Fighting with My Family, which apparently is out on digital release now, so I'll have to check that out pretty soon. I am going to talk about Sting and Bret Hart here, so let's go ahead and do that. Get back to the question here from Marcus Metcalf. I think I said Meatcalf because I'm half blind here without my glasses. So he said, better character in 1997, Sting or Bret Hart? This one is really difficult. WCW, to their credit, did an amazing job with Sting in 97. I mean, they just built up this superhero character that could do no wrong. The problem was Starrcade happened, and they pretty much screwed up the character. I mean, what helped Sting was the fact that he had that mystique about him, and he always looked strong. Once he started getting in the ring, having matches, cutting promos, that mystique wore off. So I would give the edge to Bret Hart just because that character, you didn't have to worry about overprotecting the character. Like with Sting, you were keeping him out of the ring, you were having him not talk, and you were doing all these things to make that character and keep him protected from, potential things that could screw up the character. Whereas with Bret Hart, he was out there cutting promos, he was doing matches, he was doing all this stuff, and you could do different things with Bret Hart without risking the character being watered down. WCW just had to be really careful, and then they got sloppy, and the character pretty much got ruined. I mean, it was all about, I think more Faves said it well here. WCW had the discipline to keep Sting silent for a period of time. They eventually got sloppy with it, but, they were good with Sting for a while. And I think with Bret, it was more Bret too. Sting was doing the Crow character basically. Bret Hart was doing his own thing and making it his, and Sting was too, to his defense. But yeah, I would give the edge to Bret Hart overall, but Sting was a great character too with that whole reinvention in 96 and 97. Definitely one of the highlights of WCW throughout its entire run. All right, so got a $5 super chat here from Don Wooding. He says, be honest, Darren, if it wasn't your job, you more likely would take the summer off from WWE. Please talk to Greg about Wrestling Trivia Challenge Season 7. So I've said this before. If it wasn't my job, number one, I would not be watching Raw and SmackDown live. That would not be happening for sure. I think I would watch the YouTube clips just to keep up on it. I feel like in my own personal life, I can commit to maybe 2 hours a week of watching wrestling. But, since it's my job, I feel I gotta watch the shows every week and be able to give a proper review watching the shows. Also, now with Caitlin, I mean, we would probably just watch the shows live, just for the sake of watching it and discussing it. But yeah, if I was single and I didn't have to cover wrestling for a living, I'd be watching maybe an hour to 2 hours of wrestling a week tops. So I would fit in what I could in that time. So whether it's YouTube clips or something, and then that's it, I'm moving on to other things. And as far as Wrestling Trivia Challenge goes, we're working on something. I don't know what we're doing exactly, but we are still listening to suggestions. So if you guys have any ideas of what you would like to see, let Greg and I know on social media. Give us a shout out. We were talking about the idea of doing tag teams, but that might be difficult from a logistics point of view. So we'll have to see if that ends up becoming a reality. But if you guys really want to see it, let us know. If you guys want to see another tournament, or if you want to see Greg just go back to the format of one challenger after another, let us know what you would like to see. Now, Already just sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, are you attending Stomping Grounds in Tacoma in June? Unfortunately, no. I will be in Michigan during that time, so I will not be able to attend that show. But yeah, I mean, if it was a month sooner, I would have seriously considered it. I think it's the first WWE pay-per-view in the greater Seattle area in a while. I mean, I'm trying to remember the last time Seattle had a WWE pay-per-view. It's definitely been some time. They don't get WWE pay-per-views that often. I know Portland, Oregon hasn't gone one since 2008. No Mercy. So it's been over a decade now since Portland actually got a WWE pay-per-view. And yeah, Seattle finally gets one at the Tacoma Dome. I would have liked to have gone to the Tacoma Dome just because that was the building where WCW basically died, where you had Buff Bagwell versus Booker T on Raw for the WCW title, or as Scott Hudson said, the WWF title. And, the crowd pretty much just crapped on that match, and Vince changed plans for the invasion. So yeah, Tacoma is pretty much where the final nail in the coffin was put in for WCW. And yeah, Seattle did, of course, get WrestleMania. Unfortunately, they haven't gotten one since, and I don't know if the Pacific Northwest will ever get another one again. According to Michael Wayne, Over the Limit 2011 was in Seattle. So there you go. Was there one more recent? Let me know. I just don't remember Seattle getting that many over the past decade. I think they got No Way Out 2009, and they may have gotten a couple since then, but not that many. So this will be the first one in a while. I know Seattle hasn't gotten a pay-per-view since I moved up here, and that's been about 3 years. They've gotten plenty of Raws and SmackDowns, as has Portland, but no pay-per-views up here in the Pacific Northwest. I guess it's just not considered one of WWE's primary markets for whatever reason. I just remember WrestleMania 19 did a disappointing buy rate. The pay-per-view numbers weren't as high as the other WrestleManias, and I still don't understand that to this day, because to me that WrestleMania was a dream card. If you were a fan of nostalgia, you had Hogan versus McMahon. If you wanted a great main event with two current guys, you had Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar. You had the Attitude Era match, Austin versus The Rock. You had Shawn Michaels versus Jericho. That was a stacked card. So I'm just really surprised that it did such a disappointing buy rate. And I think WWE actually blamed it on Seattle, saying it was the market they didn't do a good enough job promoting it, and there just wasn't enough mainstream buzz because it was in Seattle. I don't know if that, I think they were just looking for an excuse, quite frankly. And I don't understand, I really don't. Maybe they are right. Maybe that was why. Another one here from Marcus Metcalf with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, should WrestleMania 21 be remembered as a changing of the guard? Cena and Batista won the World Championships, Edge won Money in the Bank, and Orton had a great match with Undertaker. Absolutely. That was definitely a very significant WrestleMania in the sense that it launched the careers of Cena and Batista, put them on the map. It set up Edge for his big run as a top singles superstar. Of course, winning the first Money in the Bank and then cashing it in. Orton versus Undertaker was great. That's one of my favorite Undertaker matches. In my opinion, the most underrated Undertaker WrestleMania match. I was there live for it, and I remember being convinced Undertaker was going to lose. I thought for sure when Cowboy Bob came out there and Randy Orton went for the pin, we were going to see the Undertaker streak end. I was totally buying into it. So yeah, that match was really solid. And yeah, Money in the Bank, and of course the two big title wins at the end. Definitely a really solid WrestleMania, although I feel like it did kind of fall off a cliff towards the end. Like, I felt like, first of all, Big Show and Akibona was terrible. And I thought John Cena and JBL was just your average SmackDown TV match. I mean, there was nothing to it. It was like a 5-minute TV match, and Cena won, and that was that. Batista and Triple H was all right, but again, I was expecting more out of that. And I always felt like the Hell in a Cell match was the match that they should have had at WrestleMania. This knockdown, drag-out brawl, but, just timing didn't work out for it. But, hey, it ended up working out for Batista and John Cena in the end, They became major superstars, and that WrestleMania was their coronation as top guys. All right, so anyways, on that note, I will go ahead and wrap up this edition of NoDQ Live, the NoDQ Live review / recap of SmackDown. I am planning to do a NoDQ&A live sometime this weekend, so stay tuned to the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we will also have NoDQ review probably on Thursday. So all that's coming up. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest wrestling news and rumors. A lot going on.